and welcome to Dawn News English. I'm Nadia Naqi with you. With the Israel and Gaza conflict now entering day 20, it seems that there is no immediate solution or an immediate ceasefire, despite the fact that there has been magnitude of humanitarian crisis developing after 7th October when Hamas had launched an offensive against Israel. After that, we've seen that Israel's strikes have killed more than 6,000 Palestinians, including 2,700 and some children, and leaving about 17,000 injured. There are thousands of Palestinians that have been displaced. And as we are moving on in day 20, we see that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has now given indications of a ground invasion of Gaza. Today, we have invited Mr. Mustafa Barghouti, a senior politician. He was the former Minister of Information in the Palestinian Unity Government. He's also a member of the Palestinian Liberation Organization's Central Council, and he's a physician, activist, and politician who serves as General Secretary of the Palestinian National Initiative. Welcome to Dawn News English, sir. As this is the day 20, and the number of casualties, the number of injured, the number of displaced are increasing in Gaza, and there is no respite in terms of the Israel's strikes. How would you assess the entire situations on humanitarian grounds initially to begin with?
We, the Palestinians, are subjected today to three war crimes. The first crime is the act of collective punishment, where Israel is depriving people in Gaza from water, electricity, and fuel, as well as medications and medicine. This created the worst kind of humanitarian crisis by Israel. And we are talking here about the fact that hospitals are about to collapse completely. You have more than 16,000 injured people, many of whom will not be able to receive treatment because the hospitals cannot function without electricity. Many patients could not get treatment because there is no medications that is needed for them. Children in incubators could die. You are talking about at least 130 Palestinian children in incubators who could die at any moment if there is no electricity to supply their incubators. You're talking about hundreds of people who need kidney dialysis and who cannot get it because of lack of electricity, and many of them will die, especially 32 children in urgent need for kidney dialysis. But on top of that, there is a scarcity of food, scarcity of water, and there is no drinkable water in Gaza today. That would lead to very serious epidemics. We could see outbreak of cholera. We could see outbreak of many serious gastrointestinal problems like dysentery and others, hepatitis for sure. And add to that the fact that for the last 22 days, the vaccination program has been paralyzed for children, which means more infections like measles and so on. But that's not the only war crime. That's the first one. The second one is this terrible bombardment, which is taking the lives of people, families, children. No less than 680 families were erased completely from the civil record so far. That means the children, the father, the mother, the grandfather, the grandmother, the uncles, everybody is killed. These are terrible bombardments. It's an act of genocide that Israel is conducting against the Palestinian population of Gaza. And then, of course, you have this act of ethnic cleansing where people have been forced from the north and the center to the south. The Israeli goal is to evict them completely from Gaza and to conduct total ethnic cleansing of Gaza, forcing people into Egypt. And that has failed because people are steadfast and Egypt is not accepting the plan, but the Israelis continue the pressure. So these three war crimes are something horrible, and they're happening in front of the eyes of the whole world. And Israel is supported by the large Western countries like United States, Britain, France, and others unconditionally. They are supported unconditionally, and that encourages Israel to proceed with these terrible war crimes.
All right. Mr. Barghouti, first about because we're talking about first the health, as you're a physician yourself, and you very well explained what could result in, or, all this result into. First, tell me, you must have read the statement of President Joe Biden. He has no confidence in the Palestinian death count, he says.
No confidence in what? Can you repeat that, please?
He says he has no confidence in the Palestinian death count. He doesn't believe that, the death count given by the ministry there.
I think Mr. Biden has lost all his credibility because, and it is really strange for a person who's the president of a superpower like the United States to be a broadcaster of Israeli lies, a broadcaster of Netanyahu's lies, one lie after the other. And even the American media has revoked many of these lies. Mr. Biden spoke about decapitation of children. It turned out to be a big Israeli lie. And the CNN correspondent had to apologize for reporting that, which was, when verified, turned to be untrue. The other thing is that he spoke about raping women. Again, Los Angeles Times correspondent apologized for reporting that because when it was verified, it turned out to be incorrect. Then they spoke about the rocket that hit a hospital in Gaza, the Baptist hospital. And he also repeated the Israeli lie, and he said it wasn't our team. He teamed up with Netanyahu in these war crimes. And he said that the rocket was from Palestinian side. Now, even New York Times has proven that the Israeli story and the videos that have been used are totally doubtful. And now he repeats the last lie of Netanyahu. First of all, he says that Hamas takes Palestinians as human shields. This is another lie. And then the lie that Palestinian figures are not correct. What does this man want? I don't know. I mean, he doesn't see the images and pictures of all these families destroyed and killed.
Mr. Barghouti, you seem to be more critical of the US than Israel. Why is it so?
I think what you see here is that there is a belief on the side of the United States administration that Israel is their ally in keeping American strategic and imperialist interest in the region. And they are ready to support Israel with everything they can. Also, they see a harmful matter here, which is that the whole illusion of almighty Israel, which was equipped with American technology and American weapons and everything, and that was broken on the 7th of October. They can't take it. I mean, and that's why there is this act of revenge and vengeance that we see in Gaza in this most terrible and horrible way. My question is, why does Mr. Biden and Mr. Sunak from Britain do not support the ceasefire? Why don't they want to support to stop these massacres that are happening against Palestinian people, one massacre after the other? And why, when Mr. Guterres, the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations General Secretary, comes out, he didn't take the side of the Palestinians. He condemned the Hamas attack on Israel. And then he said, this is happening not in a vacuum. There is something called occupation of Palestinian land, which has been there for 56 years. That's what United Nations resolutions say. That's what international law says. That's what the United States administration admits. And there is illegal settlements. He also mentioned that. Again, the United States itself says that settlements are illegal. And then this Secretary General of the United Nations is now becoming a victim of witch hunt by Israeli establishment and witch hunt by American commentators. It is unbelievable. What we see here is not only massacres against us, but an effort to silence us, to silence the oppressed, to silence the weak in front of this huge power of the United States and Western other governments. And they will not silence us. They will not silence us. We will not stop talking about the truth and about reality and about our rights.
Mr. Barghouti, as you said, initially you had said that, you're subjected to Palestinians are subjected to collective punishment. And this is the revenge that Israel is taking after the 7th October Hamas offensive launched. So what has actually Palestinians gained after this attack? Do you see any, or do you believe that, you have lost a lot of it, your cause?
Well, our cause is about ending occupation, and our cause is about ending the system of apartheid we are subjected to. And our cause is to be free from colonialism. I think Pakistani people would appreciate that, because your country has been under British colonialism for 230 years, and you struggled to get your freedom and to become independent. And that's exactly what Palestinians are trying to do. When they speak about the right of self-defense, the question is, don't we Palestinians also have the right of self-defense? And isn't occupation by itself an assault on other people? Isn't the system of apartheid an assault on the Palestinian population? Isn't the fact that 70% of the population of Gaza are refugees who were evicted from their homeland, from Palestine, when Israel was created in 1948, and when Israelis conducted no less than 52 massacres and erased to the ground 520 communities and made its people, its residents, refugees in Gaza and in other places? We have the right to struggle for freedom. We have the right to struggle to go back to the places we were evicted from. And I think this is how one should look at the matter. Let's also remember that during the last 10 years, and especially since Trump was elected, Netanyahu tried everything he could to marginalize and liquidate the Palestinian issue. And he did that through normalization with other countries, especially Arab countries. Now this has failed. It's gone. The marginalization of the Palestinian question is not there anymore. I mean, look, the whole world is here. Look at the meeting of the Security Council. I mean, the number of participants is much larger even than those who participated regarding the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. This is the central question of all the Middle East, and that cannot be surpassed. We have paid a very painful amount of victims because of this to get there. But it is not our fault that Israel is killing us. It's not acceptable to provide such a logic.
But despite day 20, and despite the huge humanitarian crisis now developing, so many Palestinians dead and displaced, and the strikes continue, and now they are preparing for ground invasion. How do you see, Mr. Barghouti, to move forward for an unconditional ceasefire? Who all can play a role? We are seeing that Russia, China, they all have spoken on this, the Arab countries. Who do you actually expect to play a role that could probably, press on not only Israel, but its allies, US, the Europe, Britain, everyone, to stop this, at least give it a humanitarian pause?
The only power, the only force that can stop them are the peoples of the world. And I think the public pressure is the one that could change the course. All governments in this world, without exception, need to be pressured. I know many governments are on our side, but they are not on our side in a sufficient way. If the Arab countries see demonstrations everywhere and see their people demanding cutting relations with Israel completely, boycotting this system of massacres and genocide, if they feel the pressure, and if they understand that their public demands them to take away privileges that the United States has in their countries, including buying their products, including supplying the United States with oil and gas and all of that, then the situation will change. Every government in this world, and I'm calling on all peoples of the world everywhere, and on the Pakistani people and the Indian people and the American people, to stand up to stop this atrocity. And I believe that public pressure worldwide will be the only factor that could change the course.
Mr. Barghouti, how would you see Mr. Abbas's role, President Mahmoud Abbas? Do you think it is satisfactory? Because we did see protests outside the palace when he was due to meet President Joe Biden, and then he had to cancel that meeting.
Yeah, we have seen demonstrations in the West Bank against him meeting with Biden, and there was a big demonstration in Ramallah against his meeting with Macron, the French president.
Yes.
But the problem is that the Palestinian Authority is showing great amount of passivity, and although the people who are attacked, I mean, they should protect all the Palestinian people, but we will not allow what some Western leaders have tried to do, which is to use the old colonial strategy of divide and conquer. Divide and conquer so that Palestinians will having rifts inside. Our duty now is to be unified and united to protect our people in Gaza, to protect our people in the West Bank. But of course, the whole Palestinian political system is suffering from the fact that we did not have free democratic elections since 2006. And as many people maybe know or don't know, we should have had elections in 2021. And if we had these elections, I think we would have had a pluralistic democratic system where neither Fatah nor Hamas would have gotten a majority, absolute majority. And we would be in a different situation. But the interesting thing, who was against these elections? Israel. Who was against these elections? The United States of America, the great democratic country. They do not want us to have democratic internal system because they don't want us to be unified. They want us to stay, remain, and be divided. And that's the game they are playing against Palestinian people. Divide and conquer. You're very much aware of that situation.
Yes, and President Joe Biden says that they very much recognize the right of self-determination of the Palestinians, and Hamas cannot take that away. How significant is that statement by him?
I think these are just words. He wasted 3 years. The Palestinians were asking him and his state secretary, Mr. Blinken, to interfere and initiate a true peace process. But he turned a blind eye to that. And he kept saying, Israel is not ready, Israel is not ready. This is the result of his policy. And we have to remind everybody that Israel was the one that blocked all negotiations with any Palestinian, including Mr. Abbas, since 2014. And they could not have done that if the United States was not supporting them. If he really believes in the right of Palestinian self-determination, he should say bluntly and loudly what Guterres said, that occupation must end and the system of apartheid must stop. If he really believes in what he said, then that's what he should do. But he's not doing that. He's providing Israel with military equipment. He's sending 2,000 American troops to fight with Israel. He's dragging the United States, and that is something that is widely criticized now in the United States. He's dragging the United States from a situation of being complicit with war crimes to become a participant in the war crimes against the Palestinian people.
Mr. Barghouti, do you fear, towards the end, I'd like to ask you, do you fear this conflict spreading? Because we've already seen exchange of fires at the border of Lebanon, where Hezbollah and Israeli forces exchanged a lot of, these firing. So do you fear that this may spread? Because we do see that the US has also sent in advisories for its nationals to start, to be cautious. And at the same time, there is also discussion around them leaving these Arab countries for the time being.
There are already attacks on American bases in different parts of the Middle East. And that is the result of this policy of Mr. Biden. Yes, I think this could expand very quickly, not only engaging Lebanon and Hezbollah into this fight, but making it a regional conflict, and that can happen. And this is the result of the American and Israeli policies. And the risk is there, and it could really change the whole situation. But that's the outcome of the world's silence at the Israeli continuous occupation and oppression of Palestinian people.
Thank you so much for being with us and letting us know the exact situation on ground, Mr. Barghouti, and participating on DawnNews English. That's all for now. Take care and goodbye.